Hi there, welcome to Disrupt Your Day. I am Petula Sankarsingh, your host. And today we have an exciting author who's a best-selling author on Amazon of several mystery books. And we are looking forward to learning all about her journey, her ups, her downs, and just her overall success of being an author, as season 4 is highlighting women's authors and their voices from a page and whatever that looked like for them. So today, please welcome Angela. Hi, Angela. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I was looking forward to just hearing all your stories and learning more about all your wonderful novels and, hopefully taking away some tools myself for my next book. So yeah, so share with us, how you got started, and all the things that came along with that, like your entire journey, basically.
I got started, this is gonna date me, but I started way back in the late 90s. I'd always been a really avid reader, and I always knew that I wanted to write a book, but I wasn't sure what kind of books I wanted to write. And then I became, I was a kind of a lifelong mystery reader.
Yes.
So back then, back in the 90s, there just weren't a lot of Black mystery writers. There were maybe a handful.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that I wanted to write mysteries. I wanted to contribute. I wanted to write mysteries that featured characters that looked like me. So, yeah. So, and I felt that there was a need at the time. Now I'm happy to say there are so many more um, Black mystery writers, but
Hmm.
back then there were hardly any.
Right.
So I would say that probably about the mid 90s, I started
Yeah.
to write the first book in what would become my Kendra Clayton mystery series. It's called The Company You Keep. And it took me 4 years to write it. And back
Hmm.
then, self-publishing was not considered a viable option to get your book in print. It was
Right.
really looked down on.
Hmm.
Um, so I did what everyone else did who wanted to get published. I got a literary agent, out of New York, because that was before everything was, online and through email.
Right.
And yeah, I had to go to the library every week. There was a big, thick book called The Literary Marketplace, and it would list agents and, their submission requirements. So I would go there every week and I would make a list of agents, and everything was snail mail. Everything had to be sent through the mail. You had to send your whole manuscript through the mail if that's what they wanted. I was lucky enough to get an agent, but
Yay.
here's the first lesson that I learned about publishing.
Hmm.
My agent wasn't very, I mean, she repped me for about a year and a half.
Hmm.
We got a couple of nibbles from some publishers, but ultimately the book didn't sell. And
Mm.
I just noticed right around that time she wasn't returning my phone calls.
Mhm.
She wasn't, communicating with me about next steps. Right around this time, there were all of these new imprints, publishing imprints that were popping up, publishing African American fiction, and I was really excited. I'm like, well, hey, I think one of them would be interested in publishing my mystery. And she was like, no, no, I don't think they'll be doing mysteries. And I'm like,
What?
well, yeah, yeah. I was very baffled by that response. So I said, well, ask and see what they're looking for. She
Mhm.
ghosted me. I never heard from this woman again.
After a
So
year of spending your time with
yeah,
her.
yeah. And that was the biggest lesson I learned, was having a bad or disinterested literary agent is worse than having no literary agent at all.
Right.
So, I was on my own, and I did a very disastrous stint with a vanity publisher because I was impatient and I just wanted to see it in print. It was horrible. The cover was
Oh, no.
horrible. It got no editing because, vanity presses make authors all of these promises. Oh, we're going to do
Mhm.
all this. But really, the way they make their money is selling authors services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't invest in you the way a real publisher would.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get my rights back from them. And there was a publisher called BET Books.
Okay.
They are associated with BET, the channel,
Right.
payment channel. They used to have a publishing division. I sent the book there, and one of the editors loved it. They offered me a 3-book deal, and that was my first foray into publishing. 2005, the first book of my Kendra Clayton series. Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, so yeah,
That's
that was
amazing.
yeah, that's the call every author wants. The call from an editor, we want your book. So then a couple years later, I got the call that no author wants. And that's, I by this time I had another literary agent, and he gave me a call and said, look, BET had been acquired by Harlequin.
Mm.
Yeah, and they're very romance focused. So they weren't really interested in the mysteries that I was writing. So me and along with quite a few other authors were dumped. So that's the
Oh,
call. That's the second call you don't want, is
so let me
that
ask you a
they're
question.
canceling
So,
your contract.
so you got on with BET for a 3-book deal. So
Oh, and
those
then
three books,
they offered me a second 3-book deal. So
okay.
yeah. So
So did
yeah.
the first 3 books get published with BET, or
Yeah.
then the whole
The
buyover took
first
over?
The first book was
Mhm.
published by BET Books. By the time the
Okay.
second book came out, they had been acquired by Harlequin. So the
Ah.
second books were published by Harlequin, yeah,
Mm.
under this new imprint, that they combined with BET.
Right.
And then I never fulfilled any of the books on the second contract because they canceled it when they decided to go in a different direction. So,
Ah.
I was on my own again, and but I had a readership for that series. And, no other publisher wanted to take it on because they didn't want to take a series that was already started under a different publisher. So that's when
Ooh.
I decided to self-publish the other 3 books. When the rights reverted back to me for the first 3 books, I just self-published all 6 books.
Okay.
So yeah, that
So,
was that was
okay, let's talk about your resilience through all this. Like, most people would be like, okay, we're getting our heads, right? And we're probably like, okay, well, maybe this is just not for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be an author. We start having those talks, and we, especially if you don't really have a support system. I don't know if you did or didn't, but um, talk about how you like navigated through that and you kept going, because your resilience definitely.
well, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. No one
Yeah.
is going to advocate for your book like you are. And from the time that I finished writing that first book to the time I saw it published, it had been almost 10 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, and I had invested so much time and effort into these books, and I really believed in them, and I had a good solid readership for them, and they were asking for more.
Oh,
So
that's
that's,
great.
if I hadn't had that, maybe things would have been a little different. But I did have a readership, so I decided just to press forward with publishing them myself. So
Okay. So, um, so, I know you spoke about why you went into mystery books, and because you had a passion for it, you read a lot of mystery books, and you decided to stay in that genre. Obviously that's your passion. So, tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you come up with your ideas? I feel like nonfiction is easier than fiction. And if there's any parts of you, like your personal life, that comes into it.
um, one of the main reasons why I like mysteries so much is the puzzle aspect. I
Mm.
love um, I love puzzles. I love figuring it out. I'm a big watcher of things like true crime stuff and Law and Order, and I love being able to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
And But my favorite part about writing mysteries is the characters' backstories. I'm not as interested in as much as the act itself as what brought the characters to the act, what
Mm-hmm.
happened to get them to that point. That's just always human nature has always fascinated me so much,
Mm.
especially, because, mysteries are kind of like modern day morality tales.
Yeah.
And mhm. So that's something that I've always loved to do, creating these characters, giving them a backstory, giving them motives and reasons why. And that's just always been fun to me. And I don't know if it comes from, I worked for 30 plus years in the library field, and
Mm.
research kind of all has always made me feel like a detective. And I think that kind of translates into my writing.
So tell us about the time you dictated a book from your bathtub.
Oh, yeah. I'm a slow writer. I mean, I've been a published author for 19 years, and you would think I'll have my 13th book out this
Hmm.
fall. You would think in 19 years I would have written a lot more than that. I'm so slow. But one of the things that I have found that really helps me is dictation. So, I'll grab my phone and pull up a Word doc on it, or I'll grab my Sony recorder.
Yeah.
And yeah, the problem is so many things can distract you when you're trying to dictate. But if you're in the bathroom with the door closed, in the
Yeah.
bathtub, there's no TV, there's no computer, it's just you and your
Mhm.
recorder, you're kind of forced to get it done. And I can talk a lot faster than I can type. So, yeah, in the bathtub at night, no distractions, no
Yeah.
husband wanting something, no little dog wanting my attention, and
Yeah.
that's where I get most of my writing done, in the bathroom.
Oh, well, that's amazing. I definitely have to try that. So have you had any regrets of becoming a writer?
Um, I wouldn't say regrets. Maybe some hard lessons.
Okay.
Um, and that's, I think a lot of people, especially when they're pursuing traditional publishing,
Yeah.
um, they think it's going to bring all these things to them, and then you get in there, and maybe your books aren't being pushed as hard as another author's books.
Hmm. Hmm.
And another big lesson I learned was, a lot of times when you're rejected, it might not have anything to do with the quality of your writing or your
Yeah.
manuscript. If marketing cannot figure out where to position your book or how to market it, if it's too like cross genre, it doesn't
Yeah.
fit neatly in a category, they'll say no. If they had a book
Mm.
similar to yours that didn't do well, they'll say
Hmm.
no. If they have a book coming out similar to yours and
Mm.
they don't want it to compete, they'll say
Hmm.
no. So you really have to learn the business and how it works. And it's very easy to take all that personally when it's really,
Mm.
publishers are in business to make money.
Yeah.
So, they don't care how good the book is, they just care if they can sell it. So
Right, right, right. So that's interesting because they are there to make money, but they don't really do much PR for you.
no, not anymore. I think back in the day, back
Mhm.
maybe in the 60s, 70s, maybe 80s, they
Yeah.
did. But now it's on you. You
Mhm.
have to get out there and shake the trees for the readers. And,
Exactly.
yeah, just, yeah, it's all on you.
So, so tell our audience how like your experience of being, I guess, a hybrid author, and then maybe some tools that you've used in your business as becoming an author that can help navigate a new person, that's been thinking about publishing a book, been thinking about becoming an author. Like, what kind of direction can you provide for them?
Well, I think you have to kind of figure out what you want to do first.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who, they just solely want to be traditionally published, and they
Yeah.
they aren't going to consider any other options, and that's fine. If
Yeah.
that's what you want, pursue that.
Mhm.
Then there are people who want to have control over everything, control over their cover, how their books are marketed, categorized.
Mhm.
Um, maybe even, there's a big push now. A lot of authors are selling directly, bypassing places like, the online retailers and selling directly. So you
Hmm.
have to figure out what you want. But the beauty of it is now you don't have to pick one or the other. You can be both.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a self-publisher for probably about 10 years.
Okay.
I wrote I wrote a thriller, and I wasn't sure if I could get um, what I felt was a big enough readership for it because I was really proud of this book. So I belonged to a email list that had put out a notification from my publisher. They're called Storm Publishing, saying that they were looking for mystery writers of color. And I had this book. It was called, at the time, it was called Goodnight Gorgeous. It's now called The Perfect Affair. And I
Okay.
sent it to them. And within 2 weeks, they're like, oh, we're liking what we're reading. Can you tell us more about yourself? 2 weeks after that, they offered me a 2-book deal.
Oh my
So,
God.
so now I'm still a self-publisher, and now I
Hmm.
also have a publisher. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So I
Yeah.
can still have that control with my other books and, wear all the different hats. And then I can also hand off that control,
Yeah.
to my publisher for these other books. And not
Mhm.
to say that I still don't have to help promote both on both
Mhm.
ends, as you do, because that's just the reality of the way publishing
Yeah.
is now.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So let's dive into your six mystery. It's six of them, right? Six mystery
There's
books.
six in my series. I have
Okay.
Kendra Clayton Mystery Series, which is 6 books. I have my Xavier Knight kind of supernatural mystery series, which is two
Mm-hmm.
books. And then I have three standalone thrillers.
Yeah. Wow. You, you definitely put in some time and work into these books. Like when I think about mystery and uh fiction and nonfiction, like especially fiction, like I feel like I'm not creative enough to like really make up characters and stories. Like I just like I know that you throughout your life because you worked in the library and you read a lot of mystery books. Does it just come natural to you?
I think it does. I've always said that the biggest education for writing is reading. And I was always just a really voracious reader
Mm.
since I was little. And I think being such a big reader helped
Yeah.
me with my writing. And
Okay.
another thing is when I look back on my
Mhm.
very first book and I look back on my recent books, I can see the
Mhm.
growth. I mean, you're not going to get better if you don't write. And you're going to get better the more you write. So,
Wow, amazing. Well, I gotta say, you're incredible because that is definitely amazing. And then, to juggle both like self-publishing and now you have a publisher. I mean, hats off to you. That's so amazing.
yeah.
So what's next? You have a publisher now, right? So you have a series with them?
No, these are just for my standalone thrillers. I'm still
Okay.
self-publishing my series.
Okay,
Sorry.
so that's okay. I mean, there's so many books that are just amazing. I'm like, okay. So this new company that took you on, are you enjoying working with them and you feel like you
Oh
actually found a place that's going to help you with
yeah.
your current set of books?
Yeah, they've been great to work with. I've gotten beautiful covers. That's another thing you find out when you're traditionally published is they give you the cover they want you to have, and if you don't like it, you're kind of just out of luck. I've been very fortunate that they have given me beautiful covers, excellent editing and promo. They're focused more on the digital space.
Oh,
They're
okay.
called, they're a digital first publisher. So they don't focus, I mean, they publish in ebook, audio, and print, but they
Mm.
mostly focus on audiobook and ebook. So,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess the whole shift of the world in digital transformation, I could
Mhm.
see a lot. of things moving in that direction, but I just always love to have a book in my hand.
Oh,
And,
well,
you know,
yeah, and they do print. They do print. It's just not their focus. But
they're
yeah, my
special.
books are print too.
Mm, yeah. It, so you're this author, I would say, like, well-established author from my view, because you've written so much, you've learned, you've been through the process, and you continue your journey within, writing in books, more books, and now the publisher and hybrid, all this great stuff. Um, do you ever see yourself not being a writer anymore, an author, or do you see like this is going to be continue to be your journey, or do you have a
I think
passion for something else?
I would love. Obviously, I'm going to keep writing. I've had big gaps where I haven't written anything, like a couple of years, but I
Hmm.
always get back to it. So yeah, I see this as being my path for the foreseeable future. And I retired a couple of years ago, so now I can
You
do it full
did?
time.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you don't even look retirement age at all. You must have retired early.
Yeah, I did. I retired early.
Oh my God. Well, good for you. Every day I say, wow, I wish I could retire. But that's amazing. So, where can the readers find your books? What can everyone do to get in touch with you, to start following you and all your amazingness?
All of my books are available on Amazon.
Okay.
Um, my website is angelahenry.com. And if anyone would like to get in touch with me, my email is angelahenrybooks@gmail.com. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. We will also have all of Angela's information in the description so you guys can get in touch with her, support her, read her series. The first, it starts from the beginning, from number one, and just go down to all of her books. She's amazing. One more question before we go. Did you find it, I know there's a lot of women authors, but did you find it challenging at any point, as a woman author? I know there maybe have been some challenges of a women author of color, but just as a woman.
Um, Not specifically. I think when I started writing, I have a series that's kind of
Mm.
urban fantasy detective.
Okay.
Um, And I've noticed that some women in that genre, um, most of their characters are female characters. I'm writing from a male perspective. So that was a
Oh.
little different. Yeah, my main character is a fallen angel named Xavier Knight. So I was writing from a male perspective, and that was a little challenging. Um, but as far as anything else goes, no, I don't think, I mean, at least it wasn't made aware to me that
Right.
there is issue with me being a woman. But
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's very positive
yeah.
for other women getting out there and publishing their first book or even self-publishing. So So I know you're both, right? So do you find that one is better than the other? So having a publisher and self-publishing?
They both have pros and cons. Traditional publishers, your books are going to be in bookstores. You're going to be eligible for all of the, to hit all of the bigger lists like New York Times, USA Today
Ah,
bestseller list. Um, you're probably going to get more media support.
mhm.
Um, but then again, you get a lower royalty rate and you
Mm,
still have to help promote yourself.
yeah.
Um, Being with self-publishing, you get to
Mhm.
wear all the hats, and then you get to wear all the hats. And it can be hard being, the
Yeah.
cover artist, the editor, and if you decide to hire out for that, that gets expensive. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and even though the views on self-publishing have come a long, long way. There are still
Yeah.
people who look down on it. So then there's
Oh,
that. Yeah.
okay.
So, and whether you're traditional or self-published, you're still, once you become a published author, either way, you become a business.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. But yeah, you become a business and you kind of need to treat it as such
Mm.
instead of being like, oh, I made $500. I'm going to
Yeah.
go shopping. It has to go back into your business. It
You
may
know
be a
what?
while
That's
before
a
you have
good
money to go
point.
shopping.
Yeah, that's a good point because I don't think most people who first publish really look at it like that. They're just
No,
like,
I
I'm
don't think
publishing a
I
book.
didn't. I didn't. Yeah. I
Yeah.
would, those royalties would hit my bank account and I was like, ooh, you know, and it took me a while to get in the mindset of I need to stop doing that. I need to
Right.
invest back into myself as an author.
You're like, "Woo, let me treat myself."
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really, truly appreciate it and all the great insights and tips. And again, everyone, all her information will be in the description. And don't forget to subscribe and continue to share our podcast and be part of Disrupt Your Day. Thank you, Angela. We really
Thank
appreciate you.
you.
All
Thank you for
righty.
having
See you
me.
later.
Fun.
Bye bye.